Welcome to Entertainment Drive-Thru. Today's special is Alan Ritchson, actor, musician, and model.
Quiet on the set.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Action.
Hello, welcome to Entertainment Drive-Thru. I'm Anna, with me is my co-host Dan, and today's guest is known, you may know him as Gloss from Hunger Games, you may know him as Aquaman from Smallville, but we know him as the one, the only Thad Castle!
Yeah!
Let's welcome Alan Ritchson!
Yeah! I thought that was the entrance, and then you were like, no, it's not, Alan Ritchson!
I know, I mean, we may know him as Thad Castle, but in reality, he is Alan Ritchson.
Yeah.
Well, how's it going? You said
a lot of
what?
Good. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people think that I am that Thad Castle is a real person, and they're so disappointed when they meet me. And I'm like, "Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you." And they're like, "What? No, Thad doesn't do that. What are you doing?"
Well, it's so funny because I was actually telling one of my friends that we were interviewing you, and he goes, "Are you interviewing Thad?" And I'm like, "Well, I mean that's his character name." But how are you doing? You said you had some other interviews before this. Sounds like you have a busy day ahead of you.
I'm good. It's been a busy month, man. Got a lot going on, and that's always good, trying to create as much work for ourselves as possible. But yeah, we've had a really good response so far to the Blue Mountain State movie effort that we're doing. We've got the Kickstarter going right now to raise money for the film, and it's gone really well. We've reached about a third of our goal in a few days, so
yeah,
that's good. And a lot of people have taken notice. Thank you. Yeah, so we've had, we've done interviews with Huffington Post and Deadline, a lot of sports outlets. We've got a few more coming, Bleacher Report.
Nice.
So a lot of from across the board, from Hollywood entertainment to sort of the Huffington Post crowd and like the ESPN guys. I mean, it's a lot of people take an interest in this, and I think it really speaks to the fact that people just really want to see a funny movie, and it's even better that it's sort of a sports themed film. So yeah, it's great, and we're happy to talk to everybody that we can and get the word out. We just want to make a funny movie that everybody can enjoy.
Absolutely, and you know this, and Anna knows this, but our listeners don't see this. In the spirit of the movie, I'm wearing a Thad Castle jersey.
That's huge.
And it literally arrived yesterday.
Yeah, we were hoping it was going to get here on time, and it just got here yesterday.
It was meant to be.
It felt like you ordered it from somewhere. Most people just beat it up, like beat the person wearing it and take it for themselves.
Oh.
But anyway, I wanted to ask you, you've done a lot of stuff now, and you try to compete on American Idol as well. And I wanted to know, when did you get started on all this? And when was the moment, you decided that being an actor, being a model, being a singer, apparently, those were the things that you wanted to do? It wasn't going to be being a quarterback for Overland University. You wanted to be all these things.
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm still trying to find out when that happened myself. I mean, I've always just kind of wanted to do everything, and I have a couple talents, I guess, that are not too terrible at singing, not the worst actor in the world. So I figured I'd give it a go in those markets. But it was one of those things where just sort of one thing would lead to another. I had never seen American Idol, and I had a bunch of friends that were like, "Oh my gosh, you would do so well on that show. You should audition or try out." I was like, all right, yeah, that sounds fun. And I was my main focus at the time was music. I was writing a lot of songs, and I was producing with some people, and that's kind of what I was focusing on at the time. And when I went out to LA, I made it to the semifinals, season 3, and I just really loved the energy of everybody out there, and you could see how hungry people were. And I was like, I kind of like this. Like people they're like, weeping when they don't make it and stuff. And I didn't really feel like that about it, but I did really feed off that energy because, a lot of really talented people that were really hungry for it. And I was like, I think this is a place for me. I just felt fed by that. So I moved out to LA after that. And in the same thing, I was modeling. That's sort of how I made my money. And one of my print agents in LA was like sending guys out on the side on auditions. And I found out, and I was like, dude, can you send me out too? I want to see if we can make some some extra cash on the side. It couldn't hurt, right? And and I just started booking jobs. I booked everything I went out on, and within 3 weeks of that, I was a guest star on Smallville, and that really kind of opened up all the doors for me. And to the point that I kind of set this. I mean, I moved out from music. I had to set it aside because I was working so much on the film side. So it was interesting. And just recently, I've made a return to music. I just cut a song called Mojito, kind of to go along with the whole BMS thing. And it's sort of like a Gangnam Style selfie song, what did the fox say? It's like one of those big club dance tracks, where everybody's going to be moving to this thing all summer, but it's about Mojito, and it's got a sense of humor. And we just shot a really epic music video for this thing.
Wait, so it's not what did the fox say? It's what did the Thad say?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Is that
ding, 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 ding. Yeah.
That explains the t-shirts. One of the perks in the BMS, the Kickstarter one, is that you get. I was looking at the t-shirt design. I was like, "What's with the Mojito one?" That makes so much sense now.
They say that in the show. That's his favorite drink. He's always like, "Hey, bros, you want some mojitos?"
See, that was a trick for me introducing you to that.
You can tell which one of us watches the show more.
I'm a girl, okay? Excuse me, but I love Thad Castle. I have to say that. Come on, you're hilarious.
Thank you.
I don't know how you reach that high pitch all the time.
It's so funny because I'll be watching that show with my friends, and she'll come in and she'll be like, "Oh boy," and then we'll show her all the scenes with you in it, and she goes, "Oh, that is hilarious."
Plus, I love the theme song.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, the Rev Theory's Hell Yeah.
Yeah! Give me a hell! Give me a
that's a big one. Yeah. Yeah, I remember the day that Eric Falconer walked in. We'd been looking for a theme song, and they'd been through a bunch of tracks, a lot of big, high-energy kind of rock songs, and they came in and they showed us this, guys, I think we found our song, and they showed me and Darren Brooks plays Alex Moran and a couple of other guys on the cast, and as soon as he clicked play, we heard that, the Hell Yeah theme, it was just the drive, it was the perfect. They found the perfect theme song for this, show, and I still remember where I was when I listened to it the first time. It was perfect, and we're definitely going to involve them in the film. They were a big part of the show for us. So
yeah, and you guys actually had them in one of the episodes where they were playing at the house.
Yeah, they put on a big show. Yeah, that was a fun episode. Yeah. Now,
before we get to talking, more about the show, I wanted to ask you. You were talking about this music video, and I didn't want to leave that in the gutter.
Yeah, it's something that we're trying to get it done. It's such a big concept. Really, it sounds funny, but it's like a really cool music video. We're trying to do a lot of big things in it. So we're trying to get it done in time. Inception of the idea sort of came about with the campaign. We wanted to have something really special to offer, and we're just hoping we can get it done in time for the campaign. But regardless, when it goes out, I think it's going to be huge. It's something that you don't have to be a fan of the show to enjoy. Mm-hmm. It'll make you move, and it's like a really addictive song, and it's fun and funny, and I think it's going to be the big summer hit.
Nice.
When we release it. So very, very, very excited about that.
Will it be as epic as I love the video introducing the Kickstarter where you are literally bugging Denise Richard.
Oh, we're not gonna do a cut here. Okay.
It's so funny, and the little kid, it gets me every time.
Yeah, that's little Hanky. That was Romansky's idea. That's his son, and it's crazy. He was actually in an episode of BMS when we were shooting, I think season 1. Mm-hmm. He was in a stroller while Sammy is banging a girl in a bush in the mascot suit. And,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
he's like the baby in the stroller. So he's grown up a lot since then.
Wow.
But it was a funny little addition to that. I think it really made that scene.
So he's funny. A part of BMS history.
Yeah.
So he was in the show while his dad in real life was pretend banging another woman. Is essentially what you're saying.
You nailed it. Yeah.
He nailed it in 2 different ways.
Yeah. He'll be a very dysfunctional kiddo, I assure you. If it has anything to do with it.
Right. And you said you moved out to LA. Where were you from originally?
I grew up in Florida.
Oh, okay.
Up in the Panhandle, yeah. So I grew up kind of near the beach there, and I moved down to Miami when I left high school, and I was doing print work down there. So I went from Miami to LA.
All right. Well, we're gonna take a quick break to listen to, for the first time ever, a clip from Mojito by Alan Ritchson. We will be right back.
Tasty.
All right, for the listeners who are, listening in, wondering what the hell we're talking about, could you explain Blue Mountain State and maybe, how it got started and how you came to
role?
Yeah, how did you come to being in this?
Oh, man. It started for me just like any show. I mean, I'd been working on some stuff and wanted to do a TV show, and especially comedy. And so my team sent me this audition for for the pilot. And I just kind of the second I read it, I got it.
Right.
I just got the character. I wanted it so bad. I went in and I had the busiest day, the day that I auditioned the first time. I was so busy. I couldn't work on the sides or whatever. So I just kind of went in and I was winging it. It was the worst audition I've ever had in my life. And I was so mad at myself. Because I rushed in. I was late. I rushed in. I had this read. I'm breathing hard. I'm okay, sorry, man. I'm just had a really busy day. And it was just a terrible read. It was I was all right, that's it. I really, whoever gets that character it's going to be a great character. And I just sort of wrote it off. And a week later, I got a call that they wanted to see me again, producers and everybody. And I was surprised because it was so bad. I was really? All right. So I had a little more time to prepare for that callback. And when I went in, it was very solid. It was the character that you see on the show. And I had a chance to sort of figure it out and polish it up a little bit. So I felt a lot better about that. And when I left that audition, I walked out of the room and I start walking down the street and I'm kind of feeling good about it. Somebody chases me down. I think it might've been Romansky. They chased me down and they're can you come back in for a second? And I was yeah, sure. What for? They want you to read for Alex Moran. And I was really? All right. And so again, I'm God, I'm just not meant to play this character. I just want to play sad. So I go in and I read for Alex and I get done and it was the unfunniest read I've ever had. And you could just hear crickets and I stand there for a second and everybody's staring at me. The first one, everybody was laughing. The second time, they're right? And I was that was a huge hit. All right, yeah, you guys have a nice life. I'll see you later. And I leave. I ended up getting the part, and I guess the rest is history. But I was a little unsure against the advice of everybody on my team, my manager, my agency, all. Nobody wanted me to do this show because they were we have no idea what this show is going to be. They've never done a scripted show like this, and we want you to wait for something that we're sure of, And I was look, I see this character, and I disagree. I'm going for it. Nobody gets what this is, but me, and that's fine. And I'm glad I did. I love the character. I don't know if I'll ever have as much fun. I feel like it's all all downhill from here. That was the funnest show I've ever worked on.
Wasn't it just college? I feel like this is just such a party show. You must have had so much fun on set.
It was a blast. I've never worked on a show with so much chemistry right off the bat, and I attribute that to the creators of the show, Eric and Romansky.
Yeah,
they're the ones. They set the tone as the showrunners and as the creators of the show. And it could have been a very, typical, just come in and do your lines. We're not going to hang out. You guys go do what you want to do at night. But it wasn't like that at all. They came in, it was an open creative field. We could bring any ideas that we wanted. And I think that's what really helped launch that was that we talked about everything and they would just let me improv and go. Not that they didn't have an amazing foundation on the page for my character. They definitely wrote for that, but it was an open creative environment. And then when we'd wrap, we'd all go hang out and get dinner. It was a lot like college. We were just we're all roommates. It was a blast. It was the fun thing. I think that is something that the audience doesn't really know, but they get the benefit of that because they see the chemistry on screen. It translates. And so I think it's benefited everybody.
I wanted to ask you though, you talked about how you got the role. Could you tell us a little bit about the show? Maybe do a quick summary of what the show is about, maybe who Thad is for the people that have no idea what we're talking about right now.
He's just going to sing the theme song.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Blue Mountain State was a college football comedy, kind of a la Animal House.
Okay.
It's a throwback to the old college party movies of the 80s, done with a modern TV twist. So, we were on for 3 years on Spike. You can see it now on Netflix, but it follows Alex Moran, who's a college quarterback who wants to do everything he can to coast through college, partying along the way. And his nemesis, Thad Castle, who's the captain of the football team and strives for the kind of greatness that will make him a billionaire in the NFL. So those two kind of butt heads and drive a lot of the comedy, but it's a party show. It's all about wish fulfillment and making this sort of the best college experience that the fans can enjoy through the show, you know. So we've had a lot of people since the show finished. It's like, I would have done anything to go to Blue Mountain State. Like if it was a real school, I would do anything to go there. I mean, it's like a very, it's a very real experience for a lot of people, and that's the life that they want to have in college, and we gave that to them. So it's that kind of show, and right. As we move towards doing a movie, we have the opportunity to take everything way further, because now we're not confined to what we were doing on TV and the rules there. We can do anything we want. So,
dangerous.
So everything's going up. Yeah, so everything's going up a notch. So the parties are going to be crazier, the storylines are going to be crazier, and the things that everybody tries to get away with are going to be nuts. So
I can't imagine how much crazier it can get. I'm so excited now.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Yes.
Yeah, we hope everybody can find out. Yeah, it's gonna be fun, but it's just, it harkens back to all the big crazy comedies in the '80s, with the big ensembles and everybody getting into a lot of trouble. So that's kind of what we throw back to. And it's a party show.
I wanted to ask you, because unfortunately it did get canceled after the third season. Well, I guess kind of abruptly during the third season, and I have to say it's actually, in my opinion, one of the greatest ways a show has ended in a long time that I've seen. But I wanted to know, why exactly did it get canceled, or is that something you don't want people knowing?
No, it was definitely an abrupt ending. It was actually right before we were going back to shoot the fourth season. We had already gotten a pickup, and we were told that we would actually be shooting 2 seasons back to back. I mean, this is how invested Lionsgate. The way it works, a lot of people don't know this, but Lionsgate owned the show, and they produced the show. And then Spike TV would license the show from them. So they would essentially lease the episodes.
Right.
So what happened the last year was they couldn't agree on a price. And we had already gotten a pickup. Everybody wanted to do it. We were told every year we'd go rent apartments in Montreal where we would shoot. And we were already told to go find our apartments. And just a few weeks before we were getting ready to move back up there to shoot the fourth season, we found out suddenly that negotiations fell apart and Spike walked away, and it really just came down to the fact that they just aren't a big enough network to support a show like ours. It was an expensive show to make, and as supportive as they were creatively, I mean, they let us get away with pretty much anything we wanted on the show. They just couldn't really afford that type of show, and and at the end of the day, they couldn't do it. It's not common, it's uncommon, I should say, for another network to pick up somebody else's show. So Lionsgate, I believe, tried, but it was not something that anybody else wanted to help out with. So,
well, and you guys did kind of push it to an ending. Was that always going to be that way? For the listeners who don't know this, they, and in the end of the third season, they kind of ended the story with the football team. Was that always the plan, or did you guys do that because you got canceled?
We know that we were canceled at the time, but there's always, the way the pickups come, it's after all the analytics are in for the entire season. So there was always the question in our mind after every season that this may be our last. And so we always tried to do something to bring a little bit of closure in case it didn't happen. But it's a little bit of luck and maybe a little bit of foresight. The fact that it did end so well. It did feel like there was closure for a show. I mean, that would have been a season finale for a show that would have satisfied something that had run for 7 years. It was a great season finale, but there was so much more that we wanted to do, so many more storylines that we wanted to tell. And that was just, for us, it was just the beginning. I mean, it was the end of that season, but the beginning of an even greater senior year for Alex and for the guys, So there was a lot that we still wanted to tell, but unfortunately, if that's where it ends, that's where it ends. But we want to keep the story going because we feel like there was a lot more life there.
Yeah.
And I'm so curious, where are you guys? Do you know what the storyline is for the movie, or do you know where you're going to start off? Are you going to start off in the senior year or way later, or?
Yeah, the idea right now is that we're starting off senior year at some point in the senior year, and essentially the theme is going to be what does Thad do with $50 million? So if you thought Thad was an animal with his college perks, give this guy a first round pick in the NFL and a $50 million signing bonus, and let's see what this guy does with it.
So it's kind of like what would have happened if he went pro.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. And the story is very funny, but yeah, it follows his journey through that world. And then we've got, Alex, who's deciding whether or not he's also going to follow in the footsteps and go pro. So he's sort of upping the ante with his own work and what he's doing and his love life as well. We've got a really interesting storyline for his love interest, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, like I said, we can take this so much further, and we've got the storyline to support that. So, everything's going up a notch, including the antics, with that having the kind of money that he's going to have, we can go a lot of places.
Am I the only one that thinks cocaine?
Yeah.
I want to know, what do people say when they see you, not on the street, but especially when people are drunk? I'm always curious what they say to people.
It's a good question. I don't go out a lot because there's so much of that, but I kind of tend to stay in a little bit more. But when I do go out and it's at a bar, I get a lot of people want to buy me drinks and mojitos. Mojitos my big one. So I get a lot of offers for mojitos.
Do you actually like mojitos?
That's why it's in the show, because they kept writing in beer references, and I was like, oh God, I hate beer. Oh, it's so gross. Nobody would ever drink beer. You wouldn't wake up in the morning and I kind of want to crack a tasty beer, with my Lucky Charm. And I like drinks that you would wake up in the morning and be like, I'm tempted to drink that. It's so delicious.
So you're going to have a mojito with your Lucky Charms. I like it.
Yeah, exactly. And who wouldn't? It's sweet, it's minty, it's delicious. And so, I was always pushing drinks on the show. I was like, what if he had what if he had a cherry vodka sour, or like a martini, or like a mojito or something? And they always loved that. So we just started putting in all these fruity drinks. And I think mojitos was the one that stuck.
Nice.
But yeah, I do like mojitos. Yeah.
Yeah. And now I wanted to ask you, kind of a different kind of question. I mean, in everything that you've done so far, what would you say are things that have worked for you and things that haven't worked for you in terms of getting on a show or getting your music out there or things like that?
I'll tell you what works. Taking the initiative to create the work for yourself. Mm-hmm. So not waiting for, basically being the creator of your own content, and anybody can do that on any scale. Mm-hmm. Things have really turned around for me. Not that things were bad. I mean, I've been working since I started consistently, which is good, but not always on the scale that I wanted to. Right. And it's just really in the last couple of years that I've started to reach a place that I'm sort of happy with, working with some of the bigger studios, having the ability to produce music videos and like this film, trying to get this off the ground. It's been a lot of fun. I haven't always been able to do that kind of thing because I didn't always have the mindset that I can be the maker of my own destiny and I can decide what I bring to life. And things have changed a lot since then. The music, I mean, I just decided, I don't care what my team says. Everybody doesn't want me focusing on music, even though it's a passion of mine. And even if I never make a dollar off of music, it's such a creative outlet for me that I have to do something. I have to write a song. I have to do something. Mm-hmm. And I just sort of I don't care what anybody says. I respect everybody's opinion on my team, but I'm going to pursue the outlets that make me creatively satisfied. So I started writing songs and I put them out for fans for free on SoundCloud. Nice. And it was an outlet for me. And I got contacted by a humongous A&R in the business who wanted me to come start writing for some of the big labels in LA because they like my writing.
No kidding. Wow. Congratulations.
That became thank you. No kidding. Yeah. And so it's been sort of a second career that nobody knows about for me. I go to studios and I write songs and I leave them on the catalogs for big artists to come through, for labels to come by for their artists. And it's so much fun. I mean, it's so fulfilling. And the Mojito thing came out of that. I was in a studio. I was cutting a really cool song. It's sort of like One Republic's Apologize, like that kind of tune. And I just pitched the Mojito idea thinking everybody would laugh at it. But these producers are the kind of guys that can make really big club beats and stuff. So I was like, what do you guys think? And we had already been in the studio all day, already finished that song. And they were like, you're not leaving. We're going to order food. You're staying here. And we stayed there until 2 a.m. working on that song together. And we got a studio life together. Yeah. So it was cool. But, none of these opportunities, I'm talking about music, but it's the same thing with film. I mean, none of these opportunities would have happened if I hadn't just taken the initiative to follow my own dreams and agenda, and the same thing with film. I wouldn't have the Hunger Games Catching Fire on my resume if I hadn't have taken the initiative myself, because I had gotten a pass. I had already heard no on that film. Really? That I wasn't big enough. I hadn't done it. Yeah, that I hadn't done enough. And I ended up writing a letter, and I don't recommend this to anybody. This could have backfired big time. And I've heard about a lot of people. This has backfired. But I wrote Deb Zane, the casting director, who's a huge casting director, a letter saying basically like, I understand this character. I've been a fan of it. I read these books before it was ever a movie. So I'm motivated by my love for this franchise. And I didn't get an opportunity to discuss with anybody in the room. So if the choices I'm making aren't right, at least give me the opportunity to have a dialogue with the director. Mm-hmm. And I got an offer after I sent that letter in.
Wow.
And nobody wanted me to send that in. Everybody thought it was a terrible idea, and it probably was. But you know what? It worked. So,
well, hey, at the end of the day, that's all that matters, right?
That is all that matters, right? Just get the job done, no matter what it takes. Get the job done, and you know, I just the only thing for me is, you know, as a producer, that's a mantra of mine. Just get the job done, no matter what it takes. As long as I don't cross any like ethical thresholds or more, you know, I'm not going to do something. I'm not going to play dirty to get it done, but I will put everything out there. The same thing with Blue Mountain State, the movie. I called Lionsgate almost daily for 9 months, asking them for the right to the movie.
Wow.
And they didn't want to do it at first because they didn't care. And it took me calling every single day until finally the lawyer there was so pissed that I was calling that said, fine, we're going to give you the rights. Just stop calling Lionsgate. Seriously, just stop calling. And I got the rights. And now we're getting closer and closer to making a movie. And I think, you know, nobody really ever understood how to market BMS. Mm-hmm. They kind of never understood. Everybody, all the execs were a little bit older. You know, they did enough to get it on the screen, but they never really understood the audience and like how to capture those minds and hearts.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And we're really hoping that through a movie, we can actually bring BMS to a place better and bigger than it ever was in the show, and reach more people and appeal to more people with the kind of comedy that we can bring to life. So, you know, so hopefully that turns into something really special as well. So, but at the end of the day, I tell people all the time, create your own content. Do whatever it takes, large or small, whether it's like little YouTube videos, little vines, or big, you know, films, features, shorts, and music videos, whatever it is. Be the creator of your own destiny.
Yeah.
And the fans thank you for that, for bugging Lionsgate up to the point of them getting it.
Just calling them up all the time, pissing them off until finally they're like, you know what? Fine, you win.
Yeah.
I love it. Now, what has been the biggest challenge for you so far, either in your career or life, or... And you laughed.
Just in life. Like day one, you ended up in the hospital. What was your biggest challenge?
Yeah, squirming out of that hole was a pretty tough one. I remember that. I remember that day well. No, golly, I honestly, I would say that trying to produce this film has been the biggest challenge. It's had a lot of different lives. I mean, there was a time where I had a lot of money raised privately in escrow, the movie, and I was, you know, very close to closing every deal, and, you know, I mean, money was in escrow, so it was pretty much done. But creatively, everybody that put something in had some creative say, and it was getting farther and farther away from BMS and what we know, and it was turning way more commercial. Not that that's bad, but for our audiences, that means leaving behind a lot of familiar faces, changing the storylines, the setting. It got so far away from what I felt comfortable putting out there for the BMS fans who, in my opinion, of course, we want to reach a worldwide audience, but if we don't satisfy the fans that love and supported the show the entire time, we haven't done our job.
Right.
So we have to find a way to do both. And trying to produce this film in a way, it's been over a year and a half that I've been working on this every day. And the challenges I faced are too numerous to count. And, you know, maybe nobody will ever know what it's taken to get this thing off the ground. But, you know, if someday we're looking back at Blue Mountain State movie, which is a classic, you know, people 20 years from now talk about it like Animal House, like that show in the 2014s, that, you know what I mean? That would be a very special thing for me, because I think only I know, and a handful of people around me know what it's taken to get this thing made. And that's, you know, that's just for me. I mean, I've also grown a lot from that and learned a lot about the business, and I'm excited about some other endeavors that I have, and the next film that I'll produce and how that'll go. But this has been the biggest challenge I've ever faced, is trying to produce my first film.
Well, we actually have a new challenge for you today, because we are up to our segment, the Question of the Week. Question of the Week.
Sweet.
So, oh, he's just like, sweet, let's go. So in this segment, we'll ask our interviewees a new question every week, and they have to think of the funniest answer that they can come up with. To our listeners out there, write in your questions on our Facebook at facebook.com/entertainmentdrivethru and our Twitter at eDriveThru, and we just might use it as the question of the week. Now, Alan, are you ready?
I think I'm a little unsure right now after that, but okay.
All right. Well, question is, I've got 99 problems, but what ain't one?
I would say, okay, so the first thing that popped into my head was, I've got 99 problems, but a friend who's a vegan isn't one.
Yes!
Nice. There's the California answer right there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you now? Were there when you lived in Florida? Were there a lot of vegans there as well?
No, man, no. This is like the fried chicken capital of the world, man. Soul food. I grew up on biscuits and gravy.
Yeah. And are you yourself a vegan now?
No, you know what? I watched that documentary, Forks Over Knives, and for about 2 days, I made it, and then I was like, "This sucks, man. I'm a meat eater. I can't do this."
Nice,
like,
nice.
I can't. Everybody gets it. I'm going to eat meat and at least enjoy the ride while I can. I mean, it's like
I'm just waiting for that one day where like all of these big stores in LA just collapse and they put up Vegemart.
yeah.
Well, all right. Well, getting back to the interview, but that was a great answer. I love that.
Epic.
What would you say is something that maybe you've learned over the years that you really wish you knew back when you got started, or maybe even for this film?
Oh man.
I know what it is. Bug people until they give in.
I think that's it. I mean, I think you're
wow.
right. It's the honest. It's changed it like that perspective and it's so empowering. It's changed my life. It really has. And I wish that 9 years ago when I started in the business, I had known what I know now. I can't imagine where I'd be if I was always taking the kind of initiative that I take. And, because really what it boils down to, you sort of think that there's something otherworldly about like an executive at a studio, like
right.
There's something that they have or something that they know that I don't. And it's not the case because I work with them all the time now. And even working with some of the biggest directors, writers, producers, studio execs in the world, one thing remains true. They're all looking for that next big thing and nobody knows what it is. Yes. And their ears are always to the ground trying to be the one that predicts what's coming next. And
right.
You know what? If I've got an idea, it may be that thing, it may not, but I'm at least going to present it to as many people as possible and see where it goes. And I'll try until it's dead, but 9 times out of 10, somebody's looking for what you've got. And if you can prove to them that it's something that's valuable to a lot of people, you can get something made. And I wish I always knew that was the world that we actually live in. And it's not something unattainable, Like for the first 7 years, I thought I just have to go through normal channels. I have to wait for my audition to come in and really, no, you create your own content and make believers out of people.
Absolutely.
Right? Now, what has been the best advice that you have received?
That's a great question. I've gotten a lot of good advice through the years. A couple of things came to mind when you asked that. One is I think not being afraid to embrace a character like Thad or a comedic side. Mm-hmm. I think as an actor, a lot of actors are like, I don't want to get typecast and I don't want to get like, I want to be an actor and I want to do play every character. And I've said that too. Mm-hmm. And I do want to do all those things. I want to play very serious, like leading man action roles. I want to do really funny comedies. I want to do big character work. Like The Grinch is one of my favorite movies ever with Jim Carrey.
Nice.
I love that kind of work and I want to do all of it. But I've, some really good advice I got was from Ed Marinero on the show Blue Mountain State. He played Coach Daniels, and he told me, don't be afraid to embrace this guy, this character or a version of this character, because that kind of comedy is something you do really well, and it can keep you working and relevant for a long time.
Right.
And it will get to a point where you can just choose to do whatever you want, and it can be for you or for the people or whatever, but don't be afraid to embrace that, because right away, as soon as I did that, I was like, okay, I'm done with comedy. I did comedy. I can't do that anymore. But, he sort of helped me understand that, like, I love that. I want to do more. I'm pretty good at it. And there's no reason to stop. Like, we don't live in a world these days where getting typecast is not a bad thing. That's actually a very good thing. I want people to think of, when they think of somebody who's funny and maybe athletic or whatever, I want them to think of me. Because if they're thinking of somebody else, that person's going to get the job every time. So I think not being afraid to be typecast is is good.
Well, and I was actually going to say, though, if you really think about it, I mean, with that character Thad, I mean, it really wasn't just all comedy with him. I mean, you really got, all aspects of it. I mean, there were parts where he was very dramatic. There were parts where he was very serious. I mean, when he went all zen, he was pretty serious. It was comedic, but it was pretty serious at the same time. So I mean, you really did get all aspects of it.
Well, I think, I think that's the key to, especially to a character like him, is it's easy to play him one note and for everything to be hokey, but there's nothing hokey about him. And I think that's why so many people like that character, because everything he does, even if it is funny, it's funny because it's deadly serious to him. Mm-hmm. And the situation itself is ridiculous. So, I mean, as Thad, when I'm playing Thad, there's never a glimmer of untruth there. Like, it's not like I, the actor, think that this is funny and Thad is going to take it seriously. Like everything that Thad does is deadly serious. And so you do get moments like that are true to life where it can be dramatic, and this, like, the situation itself provides the funny. It's not up to me to decide that, But yeah, I appreciate that. And I think that's kind of why he was such a successful character.
Now, what resources do you recommend, either getting like auditions or like you're on Vine, I know, and YouTube? Are there any specific ones you recommend? Or even for acting, like just looking up advice? Yeah,
I would say, golly. As far as looking up advice, I mean, I think as far as acting, if you want to be a trained actor, I think there's some schools of thought that you can follow. And maybe that's a formal education at a university or, a college somewhere. But you can also go the more traditional route of like finding an acting school in LA, whatever it is. I mean, for me, the best thing that I found, and I've sort of dabbled in all of them, is Stella Adler's methods.
Oh, nice.
She's got a bunch of books, and they're by far the thing that has connected me to my instincts to my talent, what I mean? And I was always worried about, like, I don't want to mess with my instincts because I think my instincts are like something you can't teach, and I don't want to mangle those with a class. But this method, Stella Adler's method, has sort of changed all that for me. And I work privately on some roles with Deb Aquila, who's a pretty well-known casting director, who she also has a studio that she teaches out of in LA. So for me, that was always a major, like, things really changed for me when I started working with her and that method. But so as far as like an actor looking for that kind of thing, I'd say that. As far as social media goes, I mean, I'm not really a big social media guy. I'm not very good at it. I came in way, way late in the game, and I don't quite have the time, which is a good thing. I don't quite have the time to focus on it as much as I'd like to, because I love connecting with fans, and I think it's a great way to do it. So for me, it's more about connecting with fans than it is about being seen or building a following, But for somebody who doesn't have a following or wants to be discovered, I would say Vine is the easiest way to do that right now. It has the fastest retention rate of any social media. You gain followers faster than anything else. Twitter is exponentially harder to gain followers because people want to see videos rather than the written word.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I've noticed that.
Do you use Instagram at all?
Vine are yeah, I do. I started to, just recently. I started to, but so kind of building a following there. But again, I'm not consistent enough with it to really build a huge following. I do it when I can. But yeah, the closer you can get to a video, the better.
Yeah.
So people want to see videos. So I would say that's the best way to build a following is on Vine.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, we are down to the end of the interview, but where are places where our listeners can find out more information about you and the Kickstarter?
Oh, man, I appreciate that. Well, people can go to BlueMountainStateTheMovie.com. And while the Kickstarter is running, it's just going to redirect to Kickstarter. So that's an easy one for people to remember. Mm-hmm. So afterwards, that'll be a source of information. We'll post everything on that. And then, you can follow me at Twitter at Alan Ritchson. On Vine, Alan Ritchson. Instagram, I don't even know what my Instagram is. I think it's A Ritchson. I think it's A Ritchson on Instagram. And I have about 37 fake Facebook accounts, so I'm not even going to try and give that one out. But yeah, and you can follow everything that we're doing as well at Blue Mountain State the Movie Facebook.com. So yeah, we're out there, and I'm always trying to connect with fans, whether it's for Blue Mountain State or for anything else that I've got going on. So I love reaching out and getting to know new people, and I appreciate the opportunity to share that.
Well, thank you so much, Alan, for being on the show. It's really been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, and for more information on Alan Ritchson, Blue Mountain State, and the podcast, go to entertainmentdrivethru.com and subscribe on iTunes. Like and follow us on our Facebook at facebook.com/entertainmentdrivethru and our Twitter and Instagram at eDriveThru.
I'm Thad Castle Sleuths, and you've been listening to Entertainment Drive-Thru.